helped me focus on the weight a little bit more. So, but everything's been the same, man. Been training hard, 100% focused, going over the game plan with my coach, and just making sure that everything's on point and we're not leaving any stones unturned. Like you said, this is a legacy fight. This is a fight that people gonna talk about for a long time. But most importantly, this is a fight that I think will give me and Terence Crawford, financial security for our families.
If you can talk to me big picture, I remember when we had Tank Davis and he was getting ready to fight Garcia. He said, "Listen, this is the fight where we're risking it, and I'd like to, start things off by saying, hey, look, I want to take big fights and against people who they think should be fighting one another, but I believe that the winner of this fight will be the new face of boxing. This fight is on another level. So in your opinion, what do you think this fight does for Errol Spence Jr.? What does it do? What does it do for the sport of boxing?"
Uh, I think it does a lot for the sport of boxing. So more people are gonna be, ready to face each other. And I think this fight is just, Tank and Ryan, great fight, two great fighters, two, young stars, and they got great crossover appeal. But I think this fight is just an old school fight, and two best fighters in the weight class, two best fighters in the world, fighting each other. It's rare that you get that, top two, top five pound for pound guys, fighting each other who've been in the weight class and fighting each other for belts, and not just belts, all the belts. So I feel like this has a lot of history to it. First time undisputed at welterweight, and you got two old school fighters who really gonna go in there and go give it their all.
Um, Errol, do you like coming in, let's say, as an underdog? You look at it, this is a 50-50 fight. But if you go to Vegas, they have Bud Crawford as a slight favorite. They have a lot of people have Bud Crawford as number one pound for pound. But when I look at the resumes, it's like, wait a minute. If I'm not mistaken, Errol Spence Jr. is the unified champion. He's got three of the belts. He's unbeaten as well. Do you like when you come into situations like this as the underdog? And maybe it's because of everything that you've been through in the past.
Oh, nah, it don't. I don't think about it. You guys remind me more than more than myself. I don't think about it at all. That's not, what I'm focused on. It really doesn't matter. It's just like when you watch even Floyd's career, that every time he accomplished something, they move the goalposts. So I feel once I beat Terence Crawford, he's gonna be something, somebody, and make some type of, they're gonna move the goalposts again and say I've been away class too long or to wait. But I might be a big welterweight, but I never missed a weight. Never missed a weigh in, never miss weight off 0.1, none of that. Always at the weight or under. So
I love it. When you look at this fight, what do you think it'll come down to? I mean, you're both highly skilled, um, both punchers, both will knock you out. When it comes into the ring, what do you think this fight basically is going to boil down to?
well, I think it's gonna boil down to grit, nation, focus, see who body and mind can, stand not only the most punishment, but and going through different highs and lows in the fight. Because I believe in the fight is gonna be, highs and lows. Pick it up, and then I might pick it up. We both might pick it up in the fight. And
Mm,
I feel like whoever can, adapt or whoever can impose their style on that opponent, that's who's gonna win the fight.
What do you say to those who say, man, Bud Crawford's so athletic, switches, has rangy power. If he hurts you, he takes you out. I think that might be too much. Your response to that?
It's been athletic fighters way more gifted than him. They've been before in boxing. So like I said, that doesn't matter to me at all. I done beat, gifted athletes, and I done seen gifted athletes get beat too. They can say what they. I know my capabilities. I know how I fight. I know my mindset when I go in the ring, and I feel like I can beat any fighter. It doesn't matter if they're athletic. It don't matter nothing. It don't matter about their skill set, whatever it is. I feel like I can adjust, or my style is just gonna impose on them so much that it might break them.
Yeah, I remember when we were at the press conference. Terence said, "This fight is going to show that we are now in the Bud Crawford era." In your opinion, this fight is going to show what about Errol Spence Jr.?
It's gonna show what I've been showing. I've been putting dudes out, touching dudes up. I don't think I got a boring style. I guess I got just a fundamentally sound style or whatever they're saying, but it's gonna show that just my mindset and just my all my attributes that I have inside the ring is gonna dictate how the fight's gonna go.
Mm. How much juice, how much energy is in this fight camp that you have? Because man, you've got one of the biggest fights on this planet coming up. One of your training partners now all of a sudden has a fight with Canelo coming up. Anthony Joshua's in camp. He's now got a fight coming up. How much juice is now in this Derrick James, Errol Spence stable? And Frank Martin's got a fight coming up.
Yeah, Frank Martin fights this week. WC title. Make sure you tune in on Showtime.
Like it.
I mean, it's a lot. I mean, we all kind of push each other, even just indirectly, because we sparring, and Anthony Joshua might walk in the gym, or Frank might walk in the gym, or they sparring, I might walk in the gym, and we watching each other work, and just naturally, you're gonna either try to work a little bit harder, or, you're gonna be, really working because another top fighter is watching you and trying to, see how you work. And you don't want to be, coined as lazy or, a guy that don't train hard. So you're gonna put the work in. So it's great just being in there with those guys, just feeding off each other, talking to each other, and it's great. But Derrick does a great job of, giving us all a time slot. So we not, sometimes we do be in the gym together, but a lot of times, I get my time, Anthony gets time, Frankie gets time. It's not just bunched in, we're all just in the gym together. So he makes sure that everybody gets their time because everybody has an important fight coming up.
And my last question, it was something that kind of came up at one of the press conferences. Listen, Bud was talking about, hey, look, I've knocked everybody out that I've faced at welterweight. And I remember you interjected when he was talking, making his point. You said, listen, you haven't fought anybody. And you look at your resume, you fought a number of elite guys in their prime.
Yeah, at the top.
How much does that matter when you come into a fight such as this, when you've been through something and walked through the fire, so to speak? How much has that prepared you for something like this?
Yeah, it definitely matters because you fought the guys at their top, and you fought the guys, when they had something to lose. Like Sean Porter had the WC belt to lose. Kell Brook had the IBF belt to lose. You fought these guys when they had something to lose, so that makes them fight a little bit harder. Like they even say that like people who win world titles, they get better, after they win the world title, because they just get more confidence. They just train a lot harder because they now have something to lose. So I feel like I fought them, you know, at their best. You know, if they wasn't at their best, they probably was a top down from their best. You know, I just feel like time is everything, and that's why I said Tyron has the best matchmakers in boxing because he fought them, you know, when they wasn't good. Like Kell Brook, he was at 154 for like 2-3 years. Then sucked down to 147. It was already hard for him to make 147. So, you know, it's just things like that that I feel like, you know, circumstances that helped him, you know, beat those guys when I beat them, you know, at their best and at their peak. But I feel like still, once we get in the ring, you know, it's gonna be all about, you know, our abilities and what we can do and, you know, how you can dictate the pace and how you fight and, you know, who established what and things like that. So it's all about, you know, focus because, you know, this fight has a lot of abilities, great abilities. I have a lot of great abilities. And regardless of who he fought or I fought, you know, when the ring, you know, I feel like all that, you know, goes out the window.
Fantastic. I know there's a rematch clause with you guys. Number of people want to know, obviously, you know, whoever wins, I'm sure they're going to want a rematch. You think that the second fight will be at 147 or 154? There you go. All right. I know there are a number of people from the media who have questions for you. Let's get right to them. Andrew Roberts is with us as well from Swanson Communications. Andrew, let's let members of the media ask questions there to the unified champ, Errol Spence Jr.
Thanks very much, Brian. As a reminder to media, if you have a question, please hit the raise hand icon at the bottom of the screen. Our first question is going to come from Andrew Jones with Anscape. Andrew, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Thanks as always, other Andrews. Just real quick for Errol. Errol, what was your favorite part of the first episode of All Access that you were able to see, if you did see it? And before the Leonard Bondu fight or before any fight, when did strap season, man down strap season become the tagline that you are now known for? When did you start saying that?
My first part was when we had a little get together with my families for Father's Day, and my girls had drew me up and painted you know, little posters, saying they love me, putting my age on there, all that type of stuff. Yeah, that was my favorite part. And strap season, it was a man down was actually man down came from. I was looking for something to put on my Instagram as like the title or whatever. And I was just going through songs. Then he said, "Shots fired, man down." And then I had to put that on there. And then I had hashtagged it. And I just kept running with man down. And strap season came along when I was trying to fight Kell Brook. And I had to fight Bondu to fight Kell Brook. And then I did this whole, after I beat Bondu, I did like that. And then I was yelling out strap season.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Errol. Thank you for those questions, Andrew. Our next questions are going to come from Manuk Kopian with the LA Times. Manuk, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Errol, you mentioned that you already moved camp to Las Vegas 3 weeks before the fight. Was the move designed to accommodate Frank Martin's fight schedule this Saturday in Vegas, or did you feel that for a fight of this magnitude, it was necessary to train away from home in order to prepare?
Yeah, basically, you know, Frank was already, you already know, he fighting this Saturday. And they was going out there, and I was like, I might as well go out there too. So, and I was like, I'm just gonna stay out here instead of going out there and coming back when Frank fight, and then leaving again a week later. I was like, I'm just gonna stay in Vegas for the whole 3 weeks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Manuk. Our next question is going to come from Robert Littall with Black Sports Online. Robert, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Hey, Errol, nice to talk to you again. The question I had for you, you kind of actually answered it a little bit, is initially you and Derek James kind of just you two was kind of you against the world, and now he has like this stable of excellent fighters. How has that made you a better fighter being around those other fighters? And then the second question I have for you is, how did you know that Bud Crawford never used hot sauce?
I feel like being in camp with them, it made me. I mean, being in the gym with them, it hasn't made me a better fighter. Probably Jamel probably made me a better fighter because just all the sparring that we had, probably like 2 years ago, we sparred all the time. So if anybody made a better fighter, it was him. And I forget how I knew he ate hot sauce, but yeah, he said it, and then I just remembered it. He ate hot sauce.
All right, thanks very much, Robert. Our next question is going to come from Dan Raphael with Big Fight Weekend. Dan, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Thanks a lot. Oh, Errol, how are you today? Good to talk to you.
I'm good.
My question for you, look, a lot of people have, when they think about this matchup, they have compared it potentially to what occurred many years ago between Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns. They find that the styles maybe of you two guys mirror those guys. Obviously, you're both Black American fighters, huge fight, same weight class, unification, that sort of thing. They were for the undisputed. What is it, when you hear that, do you think that's a valid comparison? And when you hear that, this fight is being compared to those guys' legendary fight and two fights that they had, what do you think about that? How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel great. Just getting compared to those guys, the amount of talent and skill set they had. But I think, just thinking about our fight, I think I feel like how big it is. Okay, Tommy Hearns and Ray Leonard, but I feel like it was more Marvin Hagler against Ray Leonard than anything, as far as style-wise, how Marvin kind of fought and how Ray fought that fight. Because I don't think I fight like Ray Leonard or Tommy Hearns, but I get what you're saying, the magnitude of it. But style-wise, I would say probably Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler.
All right, now just one other question for you. I know how much you wanted to make this fight, so much to the extent that you didn't take an interim fight when everything with this fight kind of fell apart at the end of last year, and he ended up taking the fight that he had against David Avanesian. And I wondered, how much did you consider also taking a fight while still trying to make this one? Or just a matter of, forget it. I'm going to just wait this out, let him do his fight, and we're going to get this done. Like, how did you deal with the question, should I fight or should I wait? Because now you're coming off, obviously, a much longer layoff than he is.
Yeah, I was getting that question a lot, I was getting that, question a lot. And, they wanted me to fight and, get another fight, but I didn't want to risk, anything happening or, or injury or anything like that, or get cut. Anything could happen. So I decided to just sit in the house, chill, and just wait till we can get either Terence Crawford fight or it's for sure not happening, and then I fight. But I was willing to sacrifice the payday and another win, just waiting on Terence, because I know the magnitude of this fight. Other people know the magnitude of this fight. I know how big it is, and this is a legacy defining fight. So I didn't want to just go off and just he fought somebody, I won't fight somebody. And, I was just putting the ego to the side and was like, I sit around. I just wait on him.
All right, great. Thank you for that, Errol, and thank you for those questions, Dan. Our next question is going to come from Mark Lellenwallow, Front Office Sports and just Zone News. Mark, if you could please unmute yourself, you can ask your questions.
Hey, Errol. With such heavy mutual respect between you and Terence, and without any verbal slinging of the mud, just off skills alone, can this fight crack a top 5 grossing boxing fight of all time?
Definitely. If if people know Terrence's mentality and know my mentality, we don't really talk that much. If somebody say something to us, then we'll talk and we'll draw it. But other than that, is we let our abilities talk. You got a lot of guys who talk a lot of crap, and they get in the fight. It's either born or they're not even fighting. So if you know my style, you know his style. There's no back down. If I push him, I know he's gonna push harder. If he push me, yeah, I know I'm gonna push harder. So I feel like me and Terrence, this is just me and Terrence put together. It's just a recipe for a great fight. I mean, we both got old school mentalities, and we both come in the fight. So we got everything online, got everybody watching. We're gonna put on a great show and a great performance. It's just the people gotta want to fight. That's the only way we're gonna get bigger fights and get other guys fighting each other and get the number one versus the number two fighting each other. If when we fight, people come out and watch the fight. People order the fight because, like I say, people in the suits look at it. They're gonna be like, man, like people excited when the top guys fighting each other. People get excited. People want to watch. People want to tune in. But if people not ordering a fight, people not coming to a fight, tuning in, then why not fight somebody ranked in the top 10 or 15 if I'm gonna get paid the same? I mean, like you showing people when we fighting each other with a risk comes a huge reward.
Gotcha. One more question. Yesterday the Tyson Fury Francis Ngannou fight was announced. Is that a fight like that do more to help or hurt boxing in your opinion?
I mean, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's an individual thing. I mean, it's definitely gonna fatten his pockets and Francis' pockets too. So I feel like that's more of a money play than anything. That's like Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. So that's more of a money play. So hey, kudos to them for getting the fight done. And I think the belts. I don't know the belts. The people who make a lot of the rules sanction it. The WC did, so they fighting each other. So hey.
All right, great. Thanks for those questions, Mark. Our next question is going to come from Ben Baby with ESPN. Ben, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Hey, Errol, hope you're doing well. I appreciate you taking the time. And kind of, it's interesting you mentioned the sanctioning bodies because I was going to ask about that. Obviously, in that presser, there was a lot of, I guess in the first one you talked about the 3% fees and all that stuff. And over the years, there's been a lot of conversation about should there be one national, federally regulated sanctioning body. What would your thoughts be on that? Do you feel like there would be a lot of support is instead of having maybe 4 sanctioning bodies, having one that's federally regulated that kind of runs and oversees the sport?
I mean, I'm not worried about it being, three sanctioned bodies, 4 sanctioned bodies, but it's just a lot. Like all these junior titles and, they make the secondary builds and just make intern builds. And you just got a lot of bills and people paying fees on it too. So it's just, I feel like it's too many bills in boxing, basically watered it down because people win the world titles and they're not earning none of the world titles. So I feel like it's just been watering down boxing and just made it. I mean, if everybody can get a title, you get a title easy. You be with the right promoter and get a title, and that's I feel like that's not right. You got guys who really work hard and been fighting the best competition. It doesn't need to be in secondary belts. You gotta make these guys, fight each other, just like me and Terrence doing, and the other guys too. So I don't know. I'm not gonna really speak on the belts to after my fight. That's all I'm focused on right now. But it is a discussion that need to be talked about. I get, you got retired fighters talking about it, but it's gonna be more on the fighters that's active now to talk about it and to make a change, because everybody need to be held accountable, not just the boxers need to be held accountable.
Hey,
The one
yo,
who need to be
yo.
held
Sorry I ain't
accountable, the
said nothing, y'all.
managers
I'm
be
at
held
work right now,
accountable,
but
the sanctioning
salute to
bodies
everybody out there in the chat.
need to be held
I go on
accountable
break
too.
in about 30 minutes,
Right.
man.
And
Y'all let
last
me
question
know
for me.
what
Appreciate
Earl
you
talking
saying
about.
that, sharing
Let me
that.
know is it
You know,
is it
I think
getting
I've talked to you
saucy out
about,
there. Let me
Terrence now. It
know.
seems like
Let me know if it's getting saucy out there. You know what I'm saying? Salute Terry Smooth Jr. Salute Bayside Boxing, Jack of the Truth, Mike Biggs Boxing, Brian Jones, Gentleman's Game, Mr. Vegas, Rodney Evans. You know what I'm saying? Juice Lee, Lake County. What's good? Salute everybody out in the chat. Smash that thumbs up button on your way out, on your way in. It don't matter. Just know, smash that thumbs up button. See y'all in about 30 minutes. Peace.
Yeah, I want to fight him because I feel like he was the guy. That's my dancing partner. He's the guy I need, and the other way around. I'm the guy that he needs, especially if we talk about legacy wise and boxing wise. I feel like if I didn't fight him, his name will always live a stain on just my name, and if he didn't fight me, my name will always live a stain on his name. Regardless if he want to say it or not. This is what it is, because wherever I go, people, always bring up, hey, when Terence Crawford gonna fight each other, and it's probably vice versa too. So, hey, we got to make it happen just for our sake, just our legacy, and for the young guys, man. Just show them away and show them that it is dope. As long as the business right, the best fighting the best, it's dope. But the business got away, and I think that's why this fight probably took a long time, because on some parts he didn't agree to a lot of things, and I didn't agree to a lot of things, and I think really the fight got made because we dropped our egos in our pride and got on the phone and talked to each other, hash things out, and got the fight made.
Thank you, Errol. Thank you for those questions, Ben. Next up, Jake Donovan from Boxing Scene. Jake, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Thanks, Andrew. What's going on, Errol? I know you mentioned, I know you mentioned that you had to put your egos, that not you had to, you willingly put your ego aside. You made the sacrifice staying out the ring. So we found out when the fight was made. When were you confident that this fight was going to happen, especially with everything you went through last year when you were pretty much left hanging?
Basically when we got, I wouldn't say it was the last hurdle, but it was the biggest hurdle, and it was just the splits. And I basically, I told him just give it to him. So, but like after I said that, that's what got to fight. That was what got to fight, man. That was the biggest hurdle.
Got you. When Gervonta and Ryan Garcia agreed to fight, were you confident? Like once that fight happened, like did that like kind of make you more confident that it would? Because it seems like we're getting this trend of like similar fights, not as big as yours, but like these guys that are young and hungry are now fighting each other.
No, they didn't have nothing. They didn't have nothing to do with us. So I feel like that their fight it didn't reflect on our fight at all, or just getting the fight made.
Got you. And then finally, I know you would like it another way, but like obviously you're not getting the activity that maybe you once had. But is there anything advantageous to like taking these breaks between these fights? Like how are you able to implement that into your training camp?
Yeah. I feel like spending time with my kids. I've been off for a year, being with my kids, hanging with my kids, seeing my kids every day. Not training and just stressing, and take care of my body, and just doing the right stuff to where when I come back, I'll be right and I'll be ready, and not just abusing my body and going out, hanging out. I was basically at the crib with my family and chilling with my family and just doing fun activities with them.
All right, thank you for those questions, Jake. Next up, Aaron Tolentino for KRON4 TV Bay Area News. Aaron, if you could please unmute yourself, you can ask your question.
Hi there. Hi, Errol. Aaron Tolentino, KRON4 TV in San Francisco. I wanted to ask, get your comments on this. Terence on Sean Porter's podcast said the reason the promotion didn't feel as big to him as the fight, as it should be, just given the magnitude of the fight. The reason why he didn't feel as the promotion was big as it should be is he was saying that people see two black men. You guys aren't talking trash. You guys aren't hugely brash. You're not this or that. I just wanted to get your thoughts on if you agree with him. What are your thoughts on the overall promotion of this fight, given the magnitude and the historical significance of it?
I mean, he could be probably right. Just because, yeah, he could be right. Just because it probably would be big. We was talking trash, cursing each other out, talking about each other's mothers and fathers, and saying crazy stuff to each other. It would be a lot bigger. Like, I mean, that's what sells, especially in this time. That's what sells. People love to see controversy, love to see you acting ass and acting crazy. But since they're not getting there, it's probably not that big. More people draw to it if I get on stage and throw a punch at them or try to slap them with something crazy. That'd be all over social media and cause a frenzy. So yeah, you're right about that part.
All right, thanks,
That's the
Errol.
harsh truth of today's reality.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Errol. Thank you for that. Thank you for the question, Aaron. Our next question is going to come from Hans Semiso with Fight Hype. Hans, please unmute yourself. You can ask your question.
Errol, what's going on, baby?
Not much, cooler.
All right. First one, two questions for you, man. Just wanted to know, in your opinion, a win over Terence, does that make Errol Spence a no doubt Hall of Famer, man?
I don't know. I mean, Hall of Fame is what it is. I really don't too much care about the Hall of Fame.
Got it. Fair enough. Second question is a two-parter. You're growing your hair out, so we probably won't see the shag, but hopefully we will see it. So I wanted to know, are we going to see a black Uptowns at the weigh-in? If not, people are going to be worried. And second part of my question is, obviously you're a guy that always wanted to fight the best people out there. Even if you're on a layoff, always want to fight the best guys. We got a guy in Jaron Ennis right now who's killing everybody. Floyd is praising him, Roy Jones, everybody really. Would a part of you, and not looking past Terrence, but would a part of you be like, yo, this kid is good, I gotta fight this kid?
Yeah, he's nice as hell, but I'm at the point in my career, the money right, I'll fight anybody, so I ain't tripping.
Appreciate you.
All right, thank you, Hans. Our next question is going to come from Abraham Gonzalez. Abraham, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Hey, Errol, how's it going?
Good.
So my first question is, have we fixed the mouthpiece situation? Because I know that's been an issue the last two fights. Is the mouthpiece good for this fight?
Yeah, the mouthpiece is good. I got a new mouthpiece right now, so I got a couple new mouthpieces. So yeah, it's good.
Okay. And then the second question is, you have some young guns like it looks like from the photo, Brian Sabayo, Quentin Randall. Does it ever feel like at this point in your career, like you're the old head in the gym with all these young guys like Frank Martin and all them around and trying to impress you and stuff, and you're the salty champion? Does it feel like a little bit like you're the old head in the gym when you're around all those young guys?
Nah, I ain't no salty champion, but it don't. I mean, I got matches and all them, but it's not. It's great. I feel like it's better working with young guys because they push you a lot harder you working with, somebody older. So I feel like it's a lot better working with young guys, and they just push me. And I feel great just to still being at the top, 32 years old, and still at the top, and at the sport, and they're trying to get to where I'm at right now. So that's a great feeling. If I was 33 and I was, trying to get a title and things like that, and trying to get notoriety, then I'll be a size older guy. But being at the top now, I'm not a size head at all, and I just use it as motivation, and just try to tell them different things, and just make sure I tell them just to stay focused.
All right. Thank you, Errol. Thank you for those questions, Abraham. Our last media questions for Errol are going to come from Cynthia Conti with Best Women's Boxing Period and RingTV.com. Cynthia, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Hi, Errol. It's Cynthia. I hope you are well. We know that you have moved to your farm, and I see you and your kids are literally in there working, picking up poop, just being a farmer. How has that move in your life and your shift for your family changed for you, for your mind, body, and soul, and also as a fighter?
I feel like it makes my kids more active. It makes me more active, and just being outside had different things, because before that I was staying in a high rise, so you gotta go down 24 steps to go outside. So I wasn't going outside unless I needed to. So living on a ranch, I go outside and we play with the dogs, the horses, play in the pool, go to the pond, walk around, ride the ATVs, see the horses, feed the horses, play with the dogs. So it's just a lot of different activities, and just showing them something different than just being downtown and hanging downtown, just doing stuff. Eventually I want to get my kids into horse riding lessons. Somebody teach them how to ride horses, and build a paintball course out there, and just get them a safe haven on the ranch, instead of them getting bored and having to go out to the city, or want to go out and hang with friends, and when they have everything at the house for them.
And then also, I know that your daughters have always been in the gym with you from day one. Do they know the importance of how big this fight is to their daddy, since now that you're in a different city once again? Do they know this is for all the belts, or do they just think, oh, daddy's just going to work once again?
No, they don't know. They just think I'm a boxer. They ask, like, somebody want to take a picture with me. My youngest asked, why is he taking pictures with you? And it ain't really, because they've been in the gym so long. Like, I go spar and I get hit, I hit somebody, or somebody might be getting beat up in the gym, and they just act like it's normal, like somebody eating a sandwich, because they've been in the gym so long. Like, you got other people, their kids be crying and stuff. With them, it's like they don't even blink an eye, because they've been in there their whole life. This is what they seen throughout the day. I've been having them in the gym since they was in the car seat. I just bring the car seat in and just sit them up by the ring, and they just watch me train and work out. So they've been in the gym their whole life. So it's just normal to them. They just think I box for a living. But they hate training camps anyway, because they don't like to see me. Usually I get an Airbnb in Dallas, and they hate coming to the Airbnb. They want me to come home.
All right. Thank you, Errol. Thank you for those questions, Cynthia. That's a wrap for the media portion of the call with Errol. Media, please stick around. We'll have Terence here momentarily. With that, I'll turn it back over to Errol, or to Brian rather, to get closing comments from Errol.
That's right. All right. Thank you, Andrew. So, Champ, appreciate it. Listen, give these guys a final word here. Everybody, all these members of the media, who are going to be writing about this fight and talking about it. Let them know what's at stake July 29th, and then your feelings, your final comments here, AKA the biggest, AKA put them in the dirt. I think I've gotten all the names out for you. Let these people know about July 29th.
Free Smoke Jr.
Free Smoke Jr.
Hey, I want to make sure everybody tune in. This is an important fight for my legacy. I'm going to put on a great show, a great performance. It doesn't matter if it's one side, it's going to be a great performance. Y'all know I beat ass. So I want everybody to make sure they tune in to this fight. This is an amazing fight. It's an old school fight. This, Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray. This is Trinidad Vargas. These are all these great fights, packed in all of one. My mentality is to fight, it's to win, it's to kill. That's his mentality, to fight, to win, to kill. So this is gonna be a legendary fight. We don't have to, talk crazy and do all the, crazy antics and, push each other and slap shit on each other's face and all that type of things. At the end of the day, I'm a man. My kids watch me. He's a man. His kids watching him. So, it's just mutual respect there. But I guarantee you, once you get in the ring, the mutual respect going out the door, and I'm going for the kill. I know he gonna try to kill, and I'm going for the kill too. It's man down, strap season, big fish, the true Free Smoke Jr. You already know. Make sure everybody tune in. July 29th on Showtime pay-per-view.
I love it. I love it. EJ, certainly appreciate it, champ. We'll get back to training. Look forward to seeing you this weekend in Las Vegas. Good luck to you, obviously, your fighter, Frank Martin. And we'll talk about it again this coming Saturday during the Frank Martin fight on Showtime Championship Boxing.
Hey, for sure. Make sure everybody watch Frank Martin fight. It's a WC title eliminator. You're going to put on a great show and another great performance like you've been doing. And hopefully after this fight, you can fight for a title or the number one versus number two fight each other. And y'all know who that is. Who's the number one guy?
Listen, the tip top, obviously, the tip top is Devin Haney. Whether or not he vacant, but right there with him is Gervonta Tank Davis. So,
okay, and who's under him?
Under Gervonta Tank Davis?
For the WBC, who's under Devin for WBC?
Well, you have the Ghost right there as well. The Ghost is there.
But who's under Devin for WBC?
Who's the guy you're thinking about?
Huh?
Who?
Shakur. God damn it.
You know what I'm saying? That's what it is.
I love it.
That's what it
Act
is.
like you know.
You know. I get it. You ain't want to get nobody no shout out from the other side.
So yeah, you got Shakur there as well, because Shakur is Lord have mercy. That's something. EJ, thank you. Appreciate your time, my guy. Appreciate it. Let me bring in the person he'll be facing. Again, this is a legacy fight, super fight. Two unbeaten champions. You've heard from the unified champ, and now you're going to hear from this man. Unbeaten. And I'm talking 39-0. 30 of his victories have come by knockout. That is a 76% knockout percentage. You go to anybody when you talk about boxing rankings, number one pound for pound, they will tell you the WBO welterweight champion of the world, Terence Bud Crawford, number one pound for pound fighter in the world. And we will see him July 29th, Showtime pay-per-view. Champ, it's good to have you. There are a number of media people who got questions for you. We're going to get right into them. But first, if you could give us a word on how training camp has been going. We got a little peek of it in All Access, but we want to know, what has it been like? We've seen you've been working out. Shakur obviously has been there in camp. We want to know up in there, God, have you been wrestling with bears or whatever? What have you done different for a fight of this magnitude that maybe you haven't done in the past?
To be honest, training camp has been going great, and there's nothing changed. You know, we real firm believers in if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we've been doing the same thing.
If you can, but give me your thoughts on this fight. In your opinion, what does this fight do for the legacy of Bud Crawford and, more importantly, the sport of boxing?
Well, like I've been saying, this fight right here just put a stamp on everything that I've accomplished in the sport of boxing. A lot of people been discredit me and for my opponents and when I fought them and how I performed and this and that and that and this. And a lot of people been calling for the Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight. So I think this fight is just put a stamp on everything. And this fight is what boxing needs. There's been a lot of fights in the history of boxing that didn't come to fruition, that a lot of fans was calling for years, and for whatever reason, those fights wasn't able to get made. But this was a fight that was able to get made, and it's happening at the right time, and the fans is going to enjoy a great fight come July 29th.
But if you could make a comparison, I remember at the press conference, one of the things I said, this is a super fight. This is Leonard Hearns. This is Leonard Hagler. This is Hagler Hearns. This is Duran Leonard. If you could compare one of the fight, which one of those fights does this compare to, in your opinion?
I don't know. I think style-wise, I would say Leonard Hagler. I would say that would be a fight that you can compare it to. But like I've been saying to everybody, a lot of people ask me that question, and I tell them the same thing. Like, this is Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence, because at the end of the day, that's who they're going to be talking about in the future. They're not going to be talking about, oh man, that was like Leonard Hagler, that was like Hearns and Hagler. No, they're going to be talking about, man, Crawford and Spence.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that Errol had talked about, he said, listen, it means something when you have fought all of these top guys in their prime, and I had to take things away from them. He hasn't done that, and that's what I'm going to show on this night. That I've fought the top guys, and I've fought them in their prime, and that's what's going to help me in a fight like this. What about you? How do you respond to that?
Well, that's his mental. That's what he believes in. But there's only one fighter that not even one fighter. All those fighters had a loss. So they already had something took from him. So him going into to fight somebody that had something took for him, they already knew how to lose. When I took things from fighters, I took they belt, I took they owe, I took a lot from them. I took their mental. They never was the same. They never performed the same. So I can say the same. But that's his mental. That's what he believe in. And come fight night, he's gonna have to prove that.
I asked him this question. I'll ask you the same thing. I said, and I told him, I said, Errol, I don't know if you've ever faced anyone as athletic who switches like Bud Crawford, has knockout power like Bud Crawford. In your opinion, champ, this fight will boil down to what?
I would think this fight will boil down to who prepared the best, and on fight night, who's on A+ game. That's what it's going to boil down to.
I love that. I love that. When you look at this fight, obviously there a rematch clause from whomever takes an L. Do you think the rematch would be at 147 or 154?
I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not focusing on a rematch. I plan to win the first match. So the rematch is not even in my mind right now. I'm more so focused on the job at hand right now.
You got a chance to, I'm sure, watch All Access, the first episode. What'd you like?
I watched a little bit of it. It was cool. It was cool to see myself on there and see the team and, see my kids. So it was cool.
You have, and for those members of the media who don't, you have some extremely talented children, from track to wrestling to everything. Do they grasp the enormity of this fight and how big this fight is, and what are their feelings?
Of course. My kids, they've been in it since babies. They all in it. For years, even hearing my kids like, Daddy, is you gonna fight that Spencer guy? Spence. Well, yeah, Errol Spence, is you gonna fight him? Like, yeah. Then here go my son, Dad, when you fight him, I'm coming to that fight. I don't care. I'm coming. So like I get it from my family, I get it from my kids, I get it from the fans. Everybody want this fight. Everybody, this is the fight that the whole world that follows boxing wanted. And when you hear from your kids, like they always watching YouTube and they see their dad name come up, they always asking you like, man, I gotta fight this dude. I gotta figure out a way how to fight this dude, because when you got your kids asking you when you're gonna fight this dude, then you gotta fight them.
When you look at your career, and you've done some phenomenal things, when you talk about the number of weight divisions that you've conquered, to be undisputed already, that you've already done that at 140. Look, if you hung it up today, you would be a Hall of Famer. But is there a part of you that would have said, I don't know if my career would have been complete had I not fought this guy? So is this the capper when you talk about what you've done in your career?
Yeah, you can say that. But at the same time, I don't think I would think my career wasn't complete if me and Errol didn't fight. For the fact of the matter, things happen. I tried to get the fight done in the past. For whatever reason, it didn't happen, but it's here now, and we don't gotta worry about me asking them questions to myself later on down the line, because we here. So all that what if, it doesn't matter no more.
My last question. I'll let members of the media come right in. I know everywhere I go, everyone asks me about this fight, and even before we got made, is it going to get made? What is it like for you now when you go to the store, when you go to the barbershop? What do they say?
Oh, they're just saying the same thing. Like, man, I'm glad y'all got that fight done. But man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it. Them tickets is hard in the mud. I'll be like, man, you gotta support. Y'all spend crazy money on other, crazy stuff that really doesn't even matter. But a fight that y'all been yearning for, y'all been trying to force the action, and y'all coming up with these narratives. Oh, this guy's scared, or he's scared, or he's ducking, or they don't want to fight each other, and they just came up with all sorts of lies and all this crazy stuff. But now that the fight here, people want to have excuses, people want to complain. Support the fight, because this is how me and Errol feed our family. We the one that got to go in there and put our lives on the line, and if anything happened, nobody's there to take care of us. Nobody's there to pick us up. Only thing they there to do is laugh at us. They there to write on the internet, oh, you got knocked out, or you got beat up, or you this and that. They don't never pick these fighters up. They there for the ride, and then when the ride slows down, they hop off. Or when the ride stop, they hop off, and then they hop on another ride. So, support the fighters, man.
I love it. And how you can support them, make sure, as I said at the top, tickets, AXS.com. Again, there's only a few left. You got to make sure this is a sellout, AXS.com or Showtime pay-per-view. Showtime pay-per-view. Make sure you order the fight. Were you tripped out that he knew that you didn't like hot sauce?
No. So it caught me off guard, and I'm like, how you know I don't like hot sauce? You know what I mean? And then a lot of my people's there was like, man, you said that in the interview. You said that. You know what I mean? He must have heard you say it. So I was like, oh, all right. Because I was like, man, you got a mole. And
right.
Oh. Like, man, how this dude know I don't like hot sauce?
You're going to have to tighten up that gang that you had around you. I love it. All right. I know there are a number of people that got questions for you, but let me bring in Andrew Roberts again from Swanson Communications. Andrew, please let the members of the media ask the champ some questions.
Thank you, Brian. And as a reminder to all the media, if you have a question, please hit the raise hand icon at the bottom of the screen there. Our first question is going to come from Keith Idek with Boxing Scene. Keith, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Thank you, Andrew. Terrence, thanks for taking the time, man. Appreciate it. You obviously, it's all business. July 29th, you're both beasts. You're going to try to take each other's heads off and everything. Of course, there's a respect for one another, but you two guys seem to like each other. Is that fair? From the outside looking in, that's the way that it seems. Is that a fair assessment of it?
Well, I say we respect each other. We haven't been around each other to hang out with each other, party with each other. So I just think it's a mutual respect for one another.
How well, because you guys had these phone calls with each other and such, how much better did you get to know him in that way that you probably had never done with any other opponent?
Well, like it's the same, we had the phone calls that we had to make the biggest fight in boxing to date made. And that's, what we did. We both understood the assignment. We both had the same goal and dreams in mind, and we just came together and made sure that we both was man enough and mature enough to get the fight made.
Terence, I know you said you want to focus on the first fight and not the rematch, but if you beat him in the way that I'm sure you feel that you will, either decisively by decision or stoppage, you feel that he will want a rematch based on the way that you think you're going to beat him?
Well, that's on him. Like I said, that wouldn't have nothing to do with me. That would be something that have to do with him. Like I said, I'm going in July 29th, 100% focused mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and ready to win the first fight. I'm not thinking about a rematch or second fight or any of that at this point in time.
My last question for you, Terence, is why do you think that he has tried to diminish your win against Sean Porter in the way that he has? And what is your retort to that?
Well, you got to understand, a lot of fighters and a lot of people have been doing that to Terence Crawford for a long time now. So it's nothing new. That's kind of like a seesaw effect. They see one person discredit me for one fighter, and then they see another person, and then that's just the thing to do. And then now you hear a lot of people on the media saying, "Oh, well, Crawford ain't fought nobody. Crawford ain't fought nobody." That's the narrative now. If you look at the comments or anything that's posted on Instagram or on Twitter, they all say the same thing. Oh, Crawford ain't fought nobody. So I'm used to it, and I just laugh because there's always an excuse after an L.
All right, thank you, Terence, and thank you for those questions, Keith. Next up, Andrew Jones with Anscape. Andrew, if you could please unmute yourself, you can ask your question.
Thanks, Other Andrew, as always. C-Car, bro, appreciate you as always, man. Want to ask you, with Coach Chet and his personality, what's the most entertaining and funny thing that he said? And is he or B-Mac the funniest guy or funniest person in camp? And also, you said on with Sean Porter's show that you felt the promotion, because you and Errol don't do crazy antics all over, that the promotion hasn't probably been as high as you thought. But 1.1 million views and growing for All Access, and a lot of people responding to it and appreciating it. Do you feel differently now about how this fight's being promoted?
Okay, so there's a lot of people in camp that's funny. I mean, everybody had their own personalities. Everybody funny in their own right. So Chet and Bo, yes, they have their moments, but there's a lot of people in here that have their moments as well. And the promotion, like I said, the promotion is going great. And the only reason why I say that it could be bigger is because when you go outside and you see somebody that doesn't know anything about boxing, they really don't know the fight is going on. That's what I mean by it could be bigger. Die-hard boxing fans, people that's into boxing, yes, they all know about the fight. They all been wanting the fight. They all been calling for the fight. But if I go to my next door neighbor's grandma house that doesn't watch boxing, if she don't read the newspaper and we ain't in the newspaper, then is she gonna know who I am? That's what I mean by, it could be bigger on different outlets, I would say.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Our next question is going to come from Robert Littall of Black Sports Online. Robert, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Good talking to you again, Bud. Earl spoke about kind of what you just spoke about, in the sense that, you guys are not on stage slapping each other. You guys are not, pulling type of crazy stuff, cursing at each other and things of that nature. How important is it, do you believe, when you have two African-American fighters who are family men, who are respectful towards each other? How important is it that the numbers, when they do come in, as far as the ticket sales and the pay-per-view, that we show support for each other with a fight like this?
It's very important, because this is how mega fights get made. If these fighters doesn't feel they value or their worth is being honored by the fans that we put our life on the line, then those big fights that everybody wants is not going to get made, because the money is not going to be there. So this is how big fights get made. And once you see a trend of the support of fans, not the ones that's streaming and stealing the pay-per-views, the ones that's actually supporting the event and paying for it and supporting it, then that's when you're going to start getting so many mega fights that everybody want to see.
And the second question that I had for you, with a fight like this that has so much anticipation, how important is it to you to put on a show for the fans? So like you said, they are talking about it 10, 20 years from now, or is just the most important thing is just following the game plan, getting the W? And how do you kind of balance that out when when that bell ring, everyone is going to be looking, they've been talking Hagler, Hurst, and all of this type of stuff. They're looking for that type of fight. How do you stay in that zone and also, make it a good show for everybody who did pay to see it?
The objective is always to get the win, first and foremost. But if you've been following Errol Spence's career and you've been following Terence Crawford's career, you got two exciting fighters. That's always an exciting fight. So there's not a doubt in my mind that this fight will be exciting.
All right, thank you, Robert. Our next question is going to come from Hans Themistad with Fight Hype. Hans, please unmute yourself. You can ask your question.
Hey, Terence, how you feeling, man?
What's up, man?
All right, so first question for you. Errol came on here and he said that, he needed you. He needed this fight you are pretty much an ultimate dance partner. Before the fight got made, you were always just on some, look, I don't need him. I don't need this fight. I guess frustrated or whatever. But now that the fight is here, can you look back and say, nah, I was wrong. I really did need Errol. I did need this fight. This is the biggest fight in like the past 30 years or something like that.
Well, I wouldn't say Errol is my biggest dance partner, like he said, yes. So being the magnitude of this fight, the stage of this fight, the level, everything, yes, I need it. Everything that's surrounding this fight and that's on the line with this one fight, yes, I needed Errol. But far as career-wise, legacy-wise, I didn't need Errol because I already accomplished so much in the sport of boxing that I can retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame and ride in the sunset and be comfortable with what I've accomplished in the sport of boxing, because there's nothing that I haven't accomplished in the sport of boxing that would hinder me from saying, oh man, dang, I wish I would have did this, or I wish I would have did that. I already became undisputed. I already won ESPY award. I already was fighter of the year. I was already multiple world champions in different weight classes. I was already two-time linear fighter in two different weight classes. So, this is, like I said, this is just a cherry on top of my ice cream.
Gotcha. And my next question for you is, you're the type of guy that, when you're at 35, 40, and now 47, you were always either looking at who's the top guy here that I haven't fought yet, or who's like a guy that's like under me or making his way up, like, damn, this dude could fight. So we got Jaron Ennis, man. And I know you're focused on Errol Spence, but it's like every time Jaron fights, this dude is just whooping everybody, and Floyd has praised him. Leonard Ellaby has praised him. Roy Jones has praised him. You're focused completely on Errol. But do you look at Jaron and say, yo, look, man, I gotta fight this dude. He fighting his ass off. Everybody praising him. That's a dude I need to fight maybe after the rematch.
I always said Boots was a great talent. I always have told everybody that I supported them. I've been supporting them since he was in the amateurs when he was fighting Gary Russell. I always supported him because they always said he remind them so much of me. But seeing him, I kind of see myself in him. And yes, he deserved a title shot. He deserved it all, but his time will come. But right now, business is business.
All right, thank you, Hans. Our next question is going to come from Ben Baby with ESPN. Ben, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew, and I appreciate you, Terrence, for taking the time. To kind of piggyback on one of the questions earlier, would you feel if this fight doesn't go your way, I mean, would you still feel like you were the best welterweight of your era without a win? Do you need this win, as much as all the things you've accomplished in your career, do you need this win to feel like you were the best welterweight of your era, and does that matter to you at all?
Of course, it's always about the win. It's always about beating the top guys in the division. I can't say I'm the best guy in my era when there's still one guy at Mount Rushmore sitting beside me. I got to be up there by myself. So, of course, this fight matters. Of course, I need to win this fight. If not, then we got to go back to the drawing boards and come back stronger.
How concerned are you about the size difference? I've got one more question after this, but the size difference, there's gonna be a lot of conversation about how big Errol usually is, the fact he can still make 147. You were undisputed at 140. How have you kind of managed that, prepared for what that difference might look like on fight night?
I don't worry about it. Listen, when you talk about size, you talk about Jeff Horn. They said Jeff Horn was one of the biggest welterweights other than Spence. when you talk about size, you talk about Sean Porter. You know, me and Sean Porter was in the amateurs together. I was at 132, he was at 165. You know, Benavidez, he was a big welterweight. Uh, I don't know. Like, I'm always fighting big welterweights. So that's nothing new. I'm always the smaller guy. Even when I was at 140, I was a smaller guy. You know, 35, was tall. I was the smaller guy. So being a smaller guy, you know, never made me think, oh man, this guy is too big or no. It's cool. The bigger they is, the harder they fall.
Right. And last one for me, Errol talked about, the amount of belts and how there are too many belts, and it's something that we're looking at as well. He said that he made an interesting point that there's a responsibility upon fighters to kind of help limit maybe the amount of belts and maybe reduce the amount of titles. What can fighters do, fighters who are at the peak of the sport like y'all, do to help maybe kind of streamline some of these belts and eliminate some of these, secondary and tertiary belts?
I don't know. It's kind of hard because you got to understand, when you coming up, everybody want to be a world champion. Everybody want to be a world champion. So a lot of people get it confused when they see all these fighters with belts and these fighters saying, oh, I'm a world champion or I'm a champion and this and that, and I got the WBC diamond or the interim this or the interim that. And it's like, okay, but what about this guy? Or what about this guy? He got a belt or he got a belt, but it's kind of not like it's their fault, because you got the champion may be hurt, and they want to get a shot at a title, and the champion might be hurt, and they might say, okay, well, you can fight for this interim title, but when the champion back, then you get a shot. Then when the champion come back, then he get to do other things. It's up to the sanction bodies to, have a model to where this guy got to fight this guy no matter what. Coming back, no money or nothing, or he got to drop the belt, or he got to fight his mandatory no matter what, or he got to drop the belt. Because if you notice, a lot of people, they be mandatory and they'll never really get their shot because you get to do other things. When you got Jamal Charlo, he's still a champion. He ain't fought in over, what, 2 years? Stuff like that, like hogging up the belt. But you got Canelo, he going up and down weights, and there's people at 168 want to fight for titles. So I think it needs to be more structure with these sanction bodies, to where other people can get opportunities to fight for these titles, because that's what it's all about. Or they need to cancel all of them and just make it one champion and one division, kind of like the UFC.
All right. Thank you, Terrence. Thank you for those questions, Ben. Our next question is going to come from Dan Rayfield of Big Fight Weekend. Dan, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. Hello, Terrence. Good to talk to you today. Appreciate your time very much. You were talking about all of your various accomplishments earlier, as far as that you didn't necessarily have to have this fight with Errol because of, you could go on and have a great legacy and be in the Hall of Fame and all that business. But if you win this fight, you will be the first male boxer, anyway, of the 4-belt era to be undisputed in 2 different weight classes. That's a big deal, it seems to me. And I wonder, when you think about that in relation to all the other accomplishments that you've had, and you mentioned Fighter of the Year and, multiple division champion, lineal champions, all that business, where do you think being the first ever guy to do that, meaning win all 4 belts, be undisputed in 2 weight classes, where would you rank that on your list of, many, many accomplishments in your career?
Man, it'll be up there. It'll be top 3 for sure. Like I said, I don't think nothing is going to outdo the accomplishment that I accomplished by winning my first title in Scotland against Ricky Burns. I think that still is going to hold a big spot, a big number 1 spot in my heart. Yeah, but this is gonna be a great fight, and it's gonna be a great feeling walking away with all those belts and becoming the first male boxer in the 4-belt era to actually win all 4 titles in 2 different divisions back to back. Um, I feel like I started this trend of these fighters want to become undisputed. Uh, if you look, before I became undisputed, look, but Bernard Hopkins, Jermaine Taylor, that was way back then, so that was a great accomplishment. But now you see it more frequently. You see it happening more often, and that's a great thing. And I think it's going to lead to a lot of fights being made and a lot of fighters challenging themselves and daring themselves to be great to try to accomplish the same thing.
When this fight was being negotiated, and we all know what happened last fall, people thought maybe it was on. It didn't happen. You ended up taking your fight with David Avanesian. You all came back to the table, and it was a difficult negotiation. And obviously, everybody is very happy that the fight is now going to happen. But I wonder, at the time it was taking place, and you were going back and forth with Errol, you mentioned about the phone calls, that sort of thing. Can you, from your perspective of making the deal, what was the one thing that finally sort of put you over the top and said, at least in your mind, we're good to go and I'm satisfied and this fight is going to happen? Because, it seemed touch and go, at least from those of us watching the thing unfold on the outside. What was it that put it over the edge for you that said, you know what, this is going to happen?
Just me calling Errol. That's it. Me calling him and going directly to him instead of going through other people. It just took me calling him and us, talking as men and coming to agreement. And that's really how the fight got made and how I was sure that the fight was going to get made and how I was comfortable that the fight was about to happen.
All right, thank you for those questions, Dan. Next up, Marcus Hayes for Fight Hub TV. Marcus, please unmute yourself. You can ask your question.
Hey, what's up, TC? Thank you for your time, man. Marcus Hayes with Fight Hub.
So,
Terence, with all that's been said and assumed by the fans and the pundits alike about you potentially having ducked Errol Spence Jr., what part of this are you looking forward to the most, if you had to pick?
I'm just looking for the fight, looking towards the fight. Like, I pretty much don't entertain the people that say foolishness, things like that. Crawford ducking Spence or Spence ducking Crawford and things like that. I don't pay attention to things like that because I've been fighting since I was 7 years old and I ain't ducked nobody. Errol Spence has been fighting all his life and I'm pretty sure he haven't ducked anyone either. When you coming up in the amateurs, you fighting the best of the best for free, fighting everybody, so this is what we do. This is what, we love to do. This is how we feed our family. So it wasn't in a case of just sign a contract or you ducking. When the business was right, then you got to fight.
You guys have been largely friendly during the promotion when you guys see each other. How far out of the window does that go on fight night, Terence?
Oh, we definitely ain't friends on a fight night. Like that's ludicrous. I was friends with Sean Porter, and you see how that fight went. I was friends with Ray Beltran. You see how that fight went. I was cool with a lot of fighters, respectful to the fighters that's respectful to me. But at the same time, when the bell ring, ain't no friends in the ring. You trying to knock me out, I'm trying to knock you out. One small blow in the wrong spot can end my life. That's how I look at it. So you trying to end my life, we're not friends.
All right, thank you, Terence, and thank you for those questions, Marcus. Next up, Jeandre LaBeouf. with Best Women's Box Show, period. Deandra, please unmute yourself. You can ask your questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Terrence, for your time. I noticed that during the All Access, we saw a lot of the Cowboys. I know that you're a big Packers fan. What is the connection between fighters and football players? Because it seems like all of you connect to football players more so than any sport. Could you just talk a little bit about if there's a connection between football and fighters and how participating in that sport can help you in the ring?
I just like football because I played football. Played basketball. I did all those sports, but the connection to football and basketball is both sports get their brains rattled. So I think that's the only connection, like the aggressiveness, the mentality of going out there and, putting it all on the field, putting it all in the ring. Then at the end of the day, you walk away from the field or the fight with a couple of loose screws.
Do the loose screws make you better or make you worse in the long run in terms of ferocity in the ring?
Oh man, it depends on how many screws you get loose. Some football players last a year in the NFL. Some last a little bit more. Some fighters last a few years in professional boxing. Some last a few more. So it just depends on how good your defense is.
All right, thank you, Terrence. Thank you, Deandra. We got time for a couple more here. Next up, Mark Lowenwaller for Front Office Sports. Unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Hey, Terrence, with all the mutual respect between you and Errol, how refreshing would it be for boxing if this fight cracks the top five highest grossing boxing fights of all time, just based off of skills, that it doesn't need any verbal mudslinging between y'all?
I think that would be great, and I think it would be great for the sport of boxing, for the sport of all combat sports, because then it would show a level of respect that doesn't have to be aligned with disrespect to be entertaining. I feel like, a lot of people see Mayweather, a lot of people see Ali, they see Mike Tyson, and they feel as if, all right, man, I got to be this villain, or I got to be like this guy, or I got to be like that guy to sell fights or to sell pay-per-views, and not my skills. But when people start understanding the sport, and they understand that you don't have to talk about somebody's dead people in the grave to get them mad, and they start talking about your mama, and then they start bringing up personal remarks to what you said to them, and then y'all make it personal just to sell fights. I think it can be a level of playing field where y'all both respect each other enough to, respect each other, but let each other know that come fight night, y'all coming for each other head.
You talked a few minutes ago about the power of just picking up the phone and reaching out to Errol. For fighters who are stuck in a negotiation rut, do you encourage them to do the same thing?
Yeah, it depends on the fight. They gotta both want it. If one fighter wants one thing and the other fighter wants something different, then it's not going to happen. In this case, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford wanted the same thing. We wanted to become undisputed. We wanted to fight each other just to prove to ourselves that we the best in the division and number one pound for pound fighter in the world. Because, like I said, whoever wins this fight is undisputed without a doubt, number one fighter in the world, pound for pound. So there was a lot of things on the line that Errol Spence believed in himself that he can be Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford believed that he can be Errol Spence. So us getting on the phone was like, hey, what's up, man? Let's get this done. Not, hey, you wanna fight me? Or come on, man. Or stuff like that, like begging or anything. It was just us coming to an agreement.
All right, thank you for those questions, Mark. Our last media questions for Terrence are going to come from Aaron Tolentino with KRON4 in the Bay Area. Aaron, please unmute yourself. You can ask your questions.
Hi, Terrence. How you doing? Aaron Tolentino from Quan4 TV here. I wanted to ask, you've been undisputed before at 140 pounds. Does being undisputed in this weight class mean more, just given the history of it? Just, thinking about who's been champion in this weight class throughout history.
I wouldn't say it means more in that sense, but I would say it means more for who I'm becoming undisputed against. When you look at Errol, he's considered top 5 pound for pound on a pound for pound list. He's a fighter that being dominant in his career. He's a fighter that's being considered one of the best opponents that I have faced, if not the best. So there's a lot on this on this pound for pound list that you can say was different with Ndango. Ndango, yes, Ndango had 3 titles, back to back to back. Errol had 3 titles, so we don't consider the IBF, as much as the other 4 titles, but no, the IBO, I would say. We don't consider the IBO title as much as we considered the other 4, but in Ndango, he went to 2 countries and did what he did to those champions, and then dared to be great, come to his 3rd consecutive country and fight me. I felt as if that was big, especially the Ricky Burns fight, then knocking out Troy Noski. But then you look at it and you say, oh, well, Ndango wasn't nothing, but you go to Errol and then he fought the guys that he fought, and he accomplished what he accomplished, but the magnitude of this fight is on 2 whole totally different levels. So I would say yes, this undisputed fight is bigger in the sense of what's all on the line for me and what's on the line for him as well.
One more question. I have Errol's been on the record that he cuts 20, 30 pounds just to make 147. He's quote unquote the big welterweight. Could you give us an insight on how much weight you need to cut, and if you feel like at all you might be outgrowing the weight class?
I gotta cut like 5 pounds, man. I cut like 5 pounds. Man. I'm good on weight.
All right, thank you for those questions, Aaron, and thank you to all the media that joined us today. Thank you very much, Terrence, for your time, and Errol as well. With that, I'll turn it back over to Brian to wrap things up for us.
Absolutely. Champ, man, we really appreciate it. Again, you're going to see this man on July 29th, Showtime pay-per-view, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas. The broadcast is going to begin at 8 o'clock. That is Eastern. It is 5 o'clock Pacific time. Order Showtime pay-per-view, or if you want to come out to Las Vegas, the tickets are few, but you can get them at axs.com. And again, this event is being promoted by Man Down Promotions, TBC Promotions, TGB Promotions as well. But before I let you go, if you would give members of the media a final comment here on what they're going to see, what they're going to get July 29th on Showtime pay-per-view.
Man, I appreciate everybody taking the time out to do this little virtual press conference. I assure you that each and every one of you will see fireworks. Like he said, come out, support the event, buy it on Showtime pay-per-view if you can't make it there in person. But you might want to do both so you can see it in person, then see it when you go home. Because like I said before, I'm going to gut them, I'm going to fillet them, I'm going to take them out the water, and I'm going to suffocate them.
There it is. and that's from the unbeaten WBO welterweight champion of the world, Terence Bud Crawford. Champ, appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you very soon. Thank you, members of the media, for joining us today. We will see you July 29th from T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, on Showtime pay-per-view. I'm Brian Custer. Have a great afternoon.